So just allowing our feet to come underneath our hips, and we'll let the toes point forwards. And we'll take a moment to just settle ourselves in and take a few nice deep breaths there. So first of all, focus in on our breath and allow that focus to allow us to find a really nice gentle connection, a real internal focus. Let's allow our awareness to come onto our feet. So we'll gently track a little bit of weight over the front of our feet, and we'll track a little bit of weight into the back of the feet. And let's do that a few times, tracking gently forwards and gently back. And then we'll see if we can find that place where our weight's right in the centre of the 2 feet. And then we'll find a little arch up through the inner arches of the feet. When we find that, just check you're not locking into the knees. To find a little bit of space around the hip sockets. We'll bring our awareness into our pelvis, and we'll gently allow the pelvis to tip forwards and tip back. So we're taking it through those 2 extremes. Place where our pelvis is nice and level, the tailbone is descending down towards the space between the heels. Let's allow ourselves to really connect into those deep core muscles, so thinking about pelvic floor gently drawing up and in, and we'll find that there's a little bit of a connection in the belly button at the same time. And then let's think about our breathing. Let's allow the breath to come in and out of the rib cage. That little connection in the tummy, we're no longer directing our breath all the way down, but we're going to allow our breath to come wide and full into the ribs. Let's let them rest down by our sides, and let's lift the shoulders, and we'll roll the shoulders gently back and down, and again the shoulders can lift and roll back and down. Let's take 2 more like that. More. Shoulders ease towards one another. We sink the shoulders down towards the tailbone. Taking a deep breath for me there. Let the right arm float forwards and up. Breathing in as the arm floats back down, and then we change over to the opposite arm. Left arm floats forwards and up. And back down. So we're changing arms each time. Those shoulders gliding down the back and the rib cage nice and soft. Side. Enough there, take a breath, let's release out through the neck. So allowing the head to gently dip over to the right side. And bringing the head up and over to the second side. Lift up and over to the right side. Over to the second side. Into the centre, let the head gently rotate round to the right side. And rotating round to the other side. Once more on each side. The head into the centre, we'll tuck the chin in nice and tight, and just allow your head to become nice and heavy there. So you've got the head releasing down, and we're looking for a nice sense of length across the back of the neck. Take a deep breath in, and as we breathe out, we'll start to gently roll down through the spine, coming down through the vertebrae. Take a nice deep breath at the bottom and then breathing out as we roll back up through the spine. As we get to the top, we'll lift the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down. Once again, release through the top of the head, rolling down through the spine. As we roll down, let's let the head be really heavy. We'll keep the shoulders gliding down the back, rolling back up. And again, head comes on top. We lift the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down. Let both arms float forwards and up. Breathing in as the arms float back down. And again, releasing through the top of the head, rolling down through the spine. At the bottom. Breathing out as we roll up through the spine. Head comes on top. We roll the shoulders back and down. Let both arms float forwards and up. Breathing in as the arms float back down. Just take a little softening of the knees. Let the arms open out to the side. And allowing those legs to lengthen. Let's do that again. Just do a little bend through the knees. Arms open out wide to the side. And as we do that, just allow yourself to really think about that sense of sliding down the wall as if you're trying to stay really long through the torso, finding that bend through the knees. Nice. Just one more. And then taking our side bend from there, up and over to the right side, extending up and away. Lovely. And if you want to add in the top arm, by all means do. Just take a moment to really feel as though your shoulder is gliding down the back and you're really open across the chest. So that as we add that top arm in, it's not pulling us forwards, but it's keeping us side dimensional. I'm not sure if that's a phrase, but we're going to bring it in. Let's make it side dimensional. Each side. To the centre, drawing the fingertips in towards one another, and we'll let those shoulders glide down the back. So with the pelvis nice and still, we'll take our spine twists. Let the rib cage gently rotate round to the right side. And we'll breathe in as we return back to the centre. And then rotating round to the opposite side. Breath in as we return back to the centre. Good, keep that going for me. Again, finding that sense of connection into the floor, so the feet are sinking down into the ground. And there's that gentle arch up through the feet. Let's take the elbows wide, let the fingers point forwards. And we'll gently rotate round to the side. Breathing in as we return back to the centre. Rotating round to the opposite side. Breath in as we return back, once more on each side. Back to the centre. Take a moment here to lift the shoulders. And then soften the shoulders back down. Let's do that twice more. As we do, see if the shoulders can grow into the elbows. That sounds silly, I know. But see if you can get them to move out towards the elbows so you're really wide across the back. Take a deep breath. Now see if you can keep the shoulders where they are and move the arms up. And floating down. And again, arms up. Shoulders stay down. See if you can do it without having to lift your eyebrows like I'm having to do. With our little fingers, and then bring the elbows in nice and tight. Let those shoulders glide together as the arms open out. Breathing in as we draw the arms back in. And again, arms open out. Drawing back in. Just taking two more like that. Hand's going to circle around and come above the head. Lovely. Circling back around. Changing to the other side. We circle around. And back we come. Once more on each side. side. Pushing the hands away from us, pushing through the heel of the hand, taking some little circles there. We've got 3 and 2 and 1 circle back the other way, keeping the rib cage nice and stable and still. Let's do that again, and 3 and 2 and 1 circle back the other way, 3 and 2 and 1, release them down. Lovely. Let's take a little bit of balance work. So we'll allow our weight to be in the whole of the foot, and then we'll just start to think about transferring the weight over into the balls of the feet. So you're starting to lift a little away from the heel. Start to push into the balls of the feet. Oh, that's my toe clunking there. And as we start to push into the balls of the feet, we'll just find a little bit of pressure into that big toe. And that's going to help us allow the ankle to stay in line. Come on back, let's take a little bit of balance work with one leg lifted. So one foot starts to lift away from the floor. And then we float that foot back down, change over to the other side. Opposite foot lifts. So keeping those hips nice and level, we're going to allow that knee to lift. Let's take the knee out to the side. And then drawing the leg back in and floating back down, changing over to the other side. We lift and opening out to the side, coming back to the centre and floating down. Good, keep that going for me. We can put a little forward lunge in there, so we'll allow the leg to lift, knee opens out to the side, coming back to the centre, and then take a big step forwards. And then we'll allow the back knee to bend. And then transfer the weight back. And changing over to the other side. So we'll lift that knee opens out to the side. Bringing that leg forwards, big step forwards, bending through both the knees. And then transferring the weight back. Good. And again, this time, right leg, we lift, knee opens out to the side, bringing the leg in, big step forwards, taking that lunge for me, and then I just want you to transfer your weight forwards. And then we can come back and step back together. So we'll lift left leg, knee opens out to the side, bringing that leg back into the centre, big lunge, bend through, bend through both the knees, transfer the weight forwards, and then coming back. Bring the feet back together. Woo! Let's do that once more on each side. So we'll lift, knee opens out to the side, bring the leg back in, take a lunge for me. Now if you want to from here, you can go into a Superman, so we can push as if we're Superman taking flight. And then we'll draw the legs back in, change over to the other side. Last one, I promise. Lunging down and Superman. And bringing the feet back together. And we'll take a little roll down through the spine from there. So just allow yourself to find a place where you've got the length of the mat in front of you. We'll take a deep breath there, and as we breathe out, we'll allow the chin to tuck towards the chest. Let's allow ourselves to roll down through the spine. Now we're going to take 3 roll downs here, bringing ourselves onto the floor and back up again. So we'll bring the hands down onto the floor, and then we're thinking about putting our knees down, but we don't. We'll bring ourselves back and roll up through the spine. If you know coming to the floor is particularly difficult for you and you only want to do it once, that's completely fine. Rolling down once again. Just take 3 roll downs and then bring yourself to the floor. This time, if you feel ready to, see if you can walk a little bit further forwards. Again, we're going to keep the knees lifted away from the floor. We're just bringing ourselves into a kind of plank position and then walking our way back in. At the top. Breathing out and rolling down through the spine. This time, if you can, we'll find that plank position. We're going to hold it there. Okay, so once we're here, I'm going to talk you through your options. We've got the crown of the head lengthening out and away. We're thinking about the breastbone pushing up into those shoulder blades and the tailbone stretching away from us. We may be shaking, in which case we may need to lower the knees. Shoulders glide down the back. Head extends away and out and away, and we're breathing. If you're in this position and it's too much, we can come back to a box position if that works better. One more breath for me there, and then lower the knees, relax the toes, and just take a sit back onto your heels, lengthening the arms, resting the forehead, breathing nice and gently. Bring ourselves onto that hands and knees position, and we'll take a little cat stretch to get our back nicely moving. Taking a deep breath, we'll push the back up into the sky, let the head drop between the arms, let the tailbone point down, and then we'll lengthen the head and the tail away from one another. Let's keep that going. Pushing the back up into the sky, let the head drop between the arms, tailbone points down. And we lengthen the head and the tail away from one another. Taking just 2 more like that. Nice deep breath here. We'll allow the right hand to lift and we'll weave the hand through the gap between the hand and the knee. Breathing in as we return, and then changing over to the other side, weaving that hand through. Breath in as we allow the arm to return. So we're changing sides each time, and if you feel ready to, we can add that little opening in as well. So we'll open up for the sky and then thread the arm through. To the other arm. Reaching the arm up for the sky and threading the needle through. Good. Let's take 2 more on each side. Keep that going for me. Lovely. That looks good. There, allow yourself to sit back onto your heels, lengthen the arms in front of you, take a few nice gentle breaths there. The hands over to the right side a little bit, reach with the left arm, push into the left hip. Walk the hands over to the other side, reaching with the right arm, pushing into the right hip. Back into the centre from there. Let's take a big step forwards with our right leg. Sure that our foot is, or our ankles directly underneath our knee, that should be a more stable base to be working from. So from there we'll take a little tipping forwards and back, tip forwards, tip back. Let's take it through those 2 extremes. That place where it feels as though the tailbone is dropping down. Now from here we're going to allow ourselves to, hang on, this way, we're going to just walk the foot out to the side a little. So you're on a diagonal. That's it. Now from there we can take the weight forwards. Now again, we want the knee to come over the ankle. Let the elbow come down and allow yourself to find a nice stretch into that hip. Yeah. The other arm will open out to the back of the room, nice and broad across the chest, and we'll lift the arm up and over. Lovely. Good, good. And then changing over to the other side. So we'll step the other leg forwards. And we'll take that little tipping forwards and back. So we tip the pelvis forwards, tip the pelvis back. Keep that going for me. Okay, so if you find it difficult to stabilise here, also check, you might want the feet to be a little bit wider apart this way. If they're really close this way, it's harder to balance. So you've got that tipping action going on, and then the tailbone starts to descend down. Now this top foot is going to turn out to the side until you're on a bit of a diagonal. Nice deep breath, strength through the core. We'll lean into that front knee. Bringing the weight down. Open that arm up for the other end of the room, the back of the room. And we lift up and over. Coming back to the centre. Let's bring ourselves onto hands and knees. So I know your knees have been working for quite a while now, but hopefully your wrists have had a little break. So we'll take a deep breath. You're going to squeeze in through the core muscles, and we're going to extend through the top of the head. Nice deep breath, the right leg stretches away from us. We breathe in as the leg returns. As we breathe out, the opposite leg glides away from us. Breathing in as the leg returns. So I want you to zone in on this exercise. I want you to imagine your cup of tea is balanced on your pelvis. And you're not going to spill a drop. Now, I want you to imagine there's a cup of coffee balanced on each shoulder blade. You're going to keep them really well balanced. You're going to get the shoulders gliding down the back and the breastbones really pushing up to meet those shoulder blades as the top of the head lengthens out and away. Now, as the leg stretches out and away, we can allow the opposite arm to lengthen, keeping those shoulders stable. Breathing as we draw the arm and the leg back, changing over to the other side. Side. Feeling it from here, we're just going to tuck the toes under, and we're going to lift the knees to just hover an inch away from the floor. So this is like our plank position, but with the working with the knees bent rather than the lengthened legs. Same thing, we want to really scoop up through the tummy. Keep that lovely posture that you found a moment ago. One more breath, lower the knees, bring yourself all the way to the floor. So when we get there, we'll allow the elbows to go nice and wide. We'll allow the nose to hover just an inch away from the floor. We'll connect in through the belly button, and we'll allow the tailbone to stretch away from us. Taking a nice deep breath for me there. As you breathe out, allow the breastbone to gently lift, let the shoulders glide down the back. Breathing in as we float back down. And again, the shoulders glide down the back, head extends out and away, and the breastbone lifts. We breathe in as we float back down. Keep that going for me. We'll just allow ourselves to take 3 more. There, allow yourself to roll onto your side, ready to take your side leg kicks. So we've got the bottom arm nice and long, we've got the head resting on top of the arm, and we're in a nice long line. Now some of us work with the bottom leg bent, and that's fine. If there's any lower back, hip, pelvis issues, that's where you're at maybe. Others of us have got both legs lengthening, and that's good too. We're going to take a deep breath. This top hand may be resting on the floor to start off with. Take a deep breath for me, and as you breathe out, you're going to stretch and lengthen both your legs away from you, fully reaching those legs out and away. So you allow the legs to stretch and extend. They're going to lengthen, lengthen, lengthen away from you, and you're looking to find a nice sense of length across the side of the body. So we breathe nice and deeply. This top hand's going to lift off and rest by our side. If you're feeling that you want an extra challenge, we'll bring the arm up towards the sky. Gorgeous. Good. Let's just allow that shoulder to drop down so it's not coming towards the ear, it's really gliding down the torso. Nice deep breath. Now, keep breathing for me here. Some of us will start to circle the top leg. Let's take 4 circles with the top leg in one direction and 4 in the opposite direction. Keep breathing for me. Now, if you're thinking, well, I can't lift that bottom leg though, Emma, I want you to think about breathing nice and deeply, stretching the bottom leg away. So even if it feels it doesn't lift, I want you to get that bottom leg to lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then as you feel the strength increasing, you'll start to be able to lift it. But for now, just think about reaching away. I'm imagining you've done your 4 circles in one direction and 4 in the other, which is marvellous. Let's keep breathing there then, and allow the legs to come to stillness if you've finished your circles. Let the top arm lift up and over, let that shoulder glide deep down the back. Draw the arm back by your side. So you're like a rainbow coming up and over the body. Let the shoulder stay gliding down. Keep it gliding down as the arm reaches up and over. This time, if you feel you're ready to, keep the fingers reaching and see if we can go for a side bend. So we can have a little lift away from the floor. Beautiful. Good. We'll take 2 more like that. And softening down all the way to the floor, soften the knees in. And then let's allow that top hip to just tip gently forwards. We've got a nice squeeze in through the tummy. Glue the toes together, we'll allow the top knee to gently lift. And lower. And we lift. And lower. Good, taking 3 more like that. Those knees together, and we'll allow both the feet to lift. So we'll lift, gently lower, and lift, and lower. This next one, we're going to hold the toes up there. Let's allow that top knee to lift, extend the leg away, draw the leg back in, and floating down. Hold it for me there, both toes are still lifted. We'll lift and extend. Draw the leg back in. You've got 1 more here. This time we're going to extend the leg, we're going to take those circles. So we'll take 3, it's the whole leg moving. 2, but the hips are staying still. 1, circle back in the other direction. 3, 2, and 1, floating the legs back down. Ah, nice one. Taking hold of that foot, seeing if we can get a nice stretch through the front of the thigh. Into that stretch, just notice where's gripping, where needs a little bit of extra release to get the stretch, and releasing the legs there. Pop a cushion underneath your head if you've got one to hand, and then we'll take that opening up like a book. Nice deep breath. We'll let that top arm open. Eyes are fixed on the hand. And we'll breathe in as the arm returns. And again, the top arm gently opens. Eyes are fixed on the hand. Breathing in as the arm returns. Just taking 2 more like that. Come up to sit. Let's go wide with the legs when we get there. If wide with the legs doesn't work for you and your legs, you can always come into a diamond shape instead. And if neither of those work, you can have a little seat on the cushion. That might give you a little bit more lift. Some people need 2 or 3 cushions to give them that lift, and that's fine. So we're lengthening nice and tall. Let's just allow ourselves to roll the shoulders back and down. Take a few nice gentle shoulder rolls. Good. And gliding those shoulders down the back. Allow the right ear to dip down towards the right shoulder. And then the head lifts up and over to the opposite side. And again, the head gently lifts up, over to the right side. And up and over to the second side. Good. Coming into the centre, let's take a little side bend from here. So allow the right hand to just rest down onto the floor. Left arm reaches, but really going with that side dimensional angle. Or I'm adding more words to this sentence that doesn't make any sense. Come on up and over. 2-dimensional. Coming up through the centre, up and over to the other side. So you know what I mean though, don't you? We're trying not to tip forwards, we're trying not to tip backwards, we're trying to imagine that our torso is wedged between double glazed windows. So you've got a pane of glass in front of you and a pane of glass behind you, and you're not knocking through the front or the back. Good. Now forget about your window for a minute. Bring that left arm and point it towards your right foot. Lift really tall and then reach beyond the leg. Imagine that there's something really fabulous just at the other end of the room that you're reaching for. And lifting nice and tall, gently opening out and changing to the other side. See, it's too hot for chocolate today, so I can't quite work out what I'm going to imagine I'm reaching for. Always chocolate. Oh, I don't know, it's never too hot for chocolate, is it really? And let's give the legs a little shake out. Good. Now, just a little, in fact, we'll come over to the other side. I'll do the glute stretch later. Let's come over and down onto the floor as we did before. So we'll set ourselves up to be on the left side. The second side. I don't know which side you were on in the first place. So, when we get there, we're going to get those shoulders on top of one another, and we're going to make sure our hips are on top of one another. Take a little look down, check you can see your toes. And the hand may want to rest on the floor, it might come by your side, wherever's good for you. Nice deep breath. Stretch the top leg away from you. So rather than thinking about lifting that top leg, I want you to stretch it away from you. Nice deep breath. Bottom leg reaches and lengthens. If you imagine that I've put an elastic band around each of your ankles and I am pulling the ankles, pulling the elastic band to the opposite end of the room, so you're really being pulled out and extended. Then we've either got that hand, it's thinking about finding a fingertip touch on the floor, or it's thinking about resting by our side, or we're lengthening and we're reaching up for the sky with the arm. Keep breathing for me in whichever option you're in. We've got 4 circles here. 4. And 3. Now if you're working for the balance, if you're working to get that bottom leg lifted, let that be your challenge. If you're working towards the top hand lifting away from the floor, not stabilising on the floor, let that be your challenge. Change the circle so you're going 4 in the opposite direction. Lovely. From there we'll float, we'll keep the legs lengthening, keep them extending away. See if this top arm can lift up and over. Lovely. Breathing in, the arm comes back by your side. And you're ready to add that side bend in if you want to. If not, you're thinking about floating the arm and allowing the shoulders to stay really stable. Stabilising through. Lovely. Now, as you take that side bend, I want you to see if you can allow the toes to really stretch away from you. So rather than letting them lift upwards, I want you to see if you can stretch them further away. Last one. And floating the legs down, once again soften in through the knees. Tip that top hip forwards, squeeze in through the tummy. Nice deep breath there, top leg lifts and floats back down. So we know for this one that we're thinking about keeping the hips really nice and still. So it will feel wonderful to have that knee opening out really wide. But that's not what our goal is here. Our goal is to keep the hip nice and still and just allow the leg to open within that range of movement. Knees glued together, both feet lift. We lift, we lower. Now we're scooping the tummy in. Give it a little bit of extra pull for me just here. Hold this one up there and we'll let that top knee lift. Extend the top leg away. Draw the leg back in and floating down. And again, top knee lifts, extends away. Draw the toe back in, floating down. And we lift, extend away, hold it, hold it, hold it. And we'll circle the leg. Now it comes all the way from the hip socket. 3, 1, and back the other way. 3, 2, 1, and floating down. Float the leg down, take hold of that top foot. Nice long stretch for the front of the thigh. Good. And when we're there, we'll just allow ourselves to release wherever needs releasing. So take a moment just to check into where you're holding the tension at the moment. We want a nice long stretch down the front of our thigh. We want, we don't want it to be in our back. So let's just squeeze in through the tummy, tip the tailbone forwards to make sure we're not getting that extra, any tension in the back. And then that top shoulder can just descend down a little. And releasing the legs there. Allow both arms to come forwards, pop that cushion underneath your head. And then taking a nice deep breath, let that top arm open, eyes are fixed on the hand. Breathing in as the arm returns. And again we open the arm. Last one. And then allow yourself to come onto your back. Allow yourself to set up a nice neutral position there. If you want the cushion under your head, keep it, otherwise we can get rid of it. So once we're here, we're in a nice released position. Notice if your chin tucks, sort of pushes upwards, I want you to see if you can find the length across the back of the neck. If you need a cushion there, by all means do. Let's take a little rocking through the pelvis. And then we'll find a place where it feels as though hip bone and pubic bone are level with one another. We'll squeeze gently in through the abdomen and we're drawing through the pelvic floor. Let the shoulders melt down into the ground. Now take a deep breath, gliding that right leg away from us and breathe in as the leg returns. And then gliding the opposite leg away. Breath in as the leg returns. Good, so as we slide that leg away this time, I want you to almost imagine you're going to keep a circle going. So you're going to lift the leg a little and then draw it in to 100 position and then float back down. And again, we slide the leg away. It takes a little lift up and then we draw the leg back in. Now, keep that going for me. If you're thinking that's too much of a strain on my back, keep to the sliding movement instead. As you stretch the leg away, the opposite arm extends away from you. And then you draw the leg in. And as you float the leg down, the arm floats back down also. Now, we're going to add in our knee opener here. So as we get to the place where our knee's above the hip socket, we let that knee open out to the side. And we breathe in as the leg returns, floating gently down. And you can do the same thing if you're keeping the leg on the floor. So the leg can slide in and then the knee opens out to the side and just keep the foot resting on the ground. The focus here is keeping these hips level. So we don't want them to tip from side to side. Keep it going for me. If you want to add in the other arm, we'll bring that in as the knee floats up. And then it just feels right to take a little abdominal curl up there as you bring the arms back down. If there's any osteoporosis or any rectus abdominis issues that need addressing, then just leave the abdominal curl up out. Last one here. Taking a nice deep breath for me there. We're going to take our knee circles. So we'll take a deep breath in and we'll allow the right knee to lift to hover above the hip socket, bringing the calf to a 90-degree angle. Nice deep connection through the core. And we'll allow our leg to gently circle for 3 in one direction. And then we'll do 3 in the opposite direction. Now, the larger we make our circle, the harder it's going to be for us to keep these hips nice and still, which is our goal. If you need to slide this other leg a little bit out of the way, by all means do. Float that leg down, we'll change over to the other side. Knee gently circles, and again, if you want to get that opposite leg out of the way a little, you can. You can stretch it away from you, just making sure that as you lengthen the leg away, you don't lose your neutral spine, so it doesn't exaggerate the curve, changing the direction of the leg. Good, and then we'll float that left foot down. So take a deep breath for me there. You've got the rib cage really planting into the ground. Nice deep breath will allow the right knee to lift to hover above the hip socket. We're going to take our scissor action from here. So we're going to allow this thigh to start to lower and lift. If you want to work with your 2-legged 100 position, now's the chance to do it. So we'll push the lower back into the floor and we'll allow the second leg to lift. Once we're here, we're drawing in through the tummy. Got the lower back pressing into the floor. There should be no strain in the lower back. Nice deep breath. We dip the foot down and it's the thigh bone that's moving. And we lift. If you're working with 2 legs lifted, you can change legs each time. If you're working with 1 leg lifted, do 5 on that right side and then change sides for me. Now, if you're thinking, well, this still isn't enough challenge for me, Emma, let's do it that as one leg lowers, the other one lifts. So they switch over mid-action. Keeping the hips nice and still, so we're not going to let them rock from side to side here. We're keeping them nice and stable. And when you've done 5 on each side, we'll bring the knees in towards the chest and give them a good hug. And then let's allow that left foot to rest down onto the floor. We'll lengthen the right leg up towards the sky, stretching out through that right leg, and see if we can take a nice stretch for the hamstring. Now here you have got the lower back pressing into the floor. It's releasing into the ground. Squeezing in through the tummy. Take a nice deep breath there and we allow the leg to gently come across the midline of the body. And then gently open out to the side. And again we take the leg across the midline of the body. And gently out to the side. Now, bringing that leg into the centre. Hold it nice and steady for me. Let the arms float down. We're going to take our knee circles here, but with the lower back pressing into the floor. Gently circle for 3 in one direction and 3 in the other direction. Now, of course, if it's too much with this leg lengthened, you can go back to the version we were just doing. It may feel quite different with the imprinted spine. So you may be able to lengthen the leg more than you could in neutral spine. When we've done 3 in both directions, we're going to come into our glute stretch. So we're going to take that right foot across the left knee, let the right knee fall open to the side. We can press that knee away from us, and if you want to, weave the hands around that left thigh and bring the leg in nice and close. And let's change over to the other leg. So we'll allow that left leg to stretch up towards the sky. We'll hold on around the back of the thigh and just see if we can really encourage that full length in the leg there. Just take a few moments where you're holding onto the back of the thigh and see if you can allow the pelvis really to relax down into the ground. So this is a passive stretch in that we're assisting the stretch so that we can get a little bit more. We're not asking the quads to do any work for us as we encourage that leg to lengthen. From here, let's gently roam the leg across the body and then out to the side. Good, keep that going for me. Good, keep that going for me. I've got to keep an eye on the time because I haven't got a clock in this room. Otherwise it could be 12 o'clock before we finish and that I might get a few complaints. From there, let's allow that leg to come into the centre, once again taking those leg circles. So we've got the back pressing into the floor and we'll gently circle that leg. Now, you may find that this side circles easier than the other side, or you find that there's a tighter spot. It'll be limited by the length in the hamstring, or should I say the tightness in the hamstring. And then we'll change the direction. So if you need to bend the knee slightly, that'll take the hamstring a little further out of the equation, and you might get more circle, which is lovely. Let's take that leg across the right knee, let the knee fall open to the side. We'll weave the hands around the right thigh and then ease the legs in close to us. nice deep breath. And we'll release the legs down, allowing the feet to come down onto the floor, letting the knees bend and letting the arms rest down by your sides. We'll take a nice deep breath there, and as we breathe out, let's press the lower back into the floor, tip the tailbone up, we'll peel the spine away from the ground, coming up bit by bit, piece by piece. When we get to the top, let's take a deep breath, lift the arms for the sky, maybe bringing them over the head if that feels good, and then we'll float the vertebrae back down one by one, looking to find that articulation through the spine. And then bringing the arms back by our side, we'll take a little abdominal curl up. And again, if the abdominal curl up doesn't work for you at the moment, then leave it out. Pressing the lower back into the floor, rolling through the spine. And we're lifting up, all the way over the head. And then floating the vertebrae back down one by one, coming down bit by bit, piece by piece. We press the lower back into the floor, let the arms come back by our sides. Let the fingertips stretch towards the toes, head and shoulders lift away from the floor. Just taking one more like that. As you take that little abdominal curl up, this time let's see if we can curl ourselves all the way up to sitting. Lovely. Good. Once we get there, we're going to take the hands around the backs of the thighs and we see if we can lengthen really nice and tall. So we'll let the shoulders glide down the back, squeezing in through the tummy. We're going to tilt the tailbone under, take a little curve into the lower back. And then we're going to lengthen up nice and tall. Now notice to start off with, I'm just making this all about spine mobility, all about pelvic tilt. I'm not getting into my abs just at the moment. I'm just allowing myself to tilt the tailbone under, curve into the lower back. So I'm really trying to work those deep abdominal muscles in the pelvis and not let it be dominated by this upper back. However, if you're feeling like, yeah, I've got this tilt, got this pelvic tilt going, baby, let me get some ab work going, then we'll start to go a bit lower. And let's see if we can avoid doing the classic Emma Duffield, which is bring the shoulders all the way up. Let's glide those bad boys down. As we come up to sit, let's see if we can reach up for the sky. And then we'll lower down. And we're coming up. Let's do a little bow and arrow. So can you shoot towards me with your bow and arrow? And then come on up, nice work. And then we'll shoot to the back of the room with our bow and arrow. Draw the bow and come on up. Let's do one more on each side. Yeah, lovely. Now, as you shoot to the back of the room this time, I want you to hold it there. Bring your bent elbow open and come to reach it towards me. So you've got both arms open wide. You're breathing, you're breathing, you're breathing. Woo! Come on up. And lengthen there. Well done, guys. Coming onto your front, because I believe we've got like 3 minutes left. Yes. And technically we haven't actually done a plank exercise today. So we'll come down onto our elbows. Now I have bypassed the first level of this exercise. But I know you know what the first level is, so we're all good. So we've got our elbows directly underneath our shoulders. And we're just going to find that place on our knees where we're lengthening really nice and tall. Some of us, our knees will not want to do this, in which case we've got the thighs resting down. We're taking the strain off the knees, but we're working really hard through the core and we're breathing. Shoulders glide down the back. I'm loving that you're still there, you're still breathing, you're working really hard for it, even though I'm still chatting. We're going to tuck the toes under if you're feeling strong, and we're going to push through the heels. We're going to lengthen our tailbone away from us. There is a connection through the bottom. It's not extreme, but there isn't a connection. Shoulders are gliding down the back. It's all about that core connecting for us. Head extending out and away. We've got one more breath. We're going to lower the knees. We're going to sit back onto our heels and breathe. Well done, guys. So from there, we'll bring our hands underneath our shoulders. We'll tuck the toes under and we'll find a little crouch position. And just take a moment to rock gently forwards and back. It's ever so good for my arthritic toe, don't you know? And then we'll allow ourselves to press our heels into the ground. We'll let the head become heavy. We're going to roll up through the spine. If you know this way doesn't work for you, come up in a way that works better for you. So the head is nice and heavy, the shoulders are gliding down the back. We're rolling gently up through the spine. Head comes on top last thing of all. When we get there, we'll lift the shoulders. We'll roll the shoulders back and down. Let's do that again. Lifting the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down. One more time. And from there, take a deep breath in, reaching really tall. Breathing out, and we'll let it all go. Give it a good shake out. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done, guys.